Okay, this is part two, continuing from the last video. And what I want to discuss was the emerging markets investments, in Western countries and Western firms, primarily investment firms, drive to invest and build up the quote-unquote BRIC nations. Now, I'll just backtrack and tell you what BRIC nations are, if you don't know. Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa was the S in the BRIC nations. These were supposed to be the next great, and they were, in terms of returns, the next great markets. The Western markets were, the theory was, in Goldman Sachs Report number 99. I think you can Google this. They have a whole white paper on this theory. That, Western markets were mature, and the next place to get great returns was to invest in Brazil, the biggest economy in South America. Russia, because of its massive resources. India, because it's the largest democracy. China, just because it's China. It's a large country with industrial capacity. And then South Africa to some degree. I don't know what the reasoning was on South Africa, so maybe I'll just go with BRIC. Brazil, Russia, India, China. And they had this theory that, you would, you invest in all their basic industries and even technology, and then you get these great returns without even thinking about the consequences of what these countries are, and that they're not developed democracies and they're full of corruption. And now we're just giving countries that are generally either neutral or unfriendly to us steroids, giving them our economy. And it was supposed to be this way. This was inevitable, and this is globalization, and we have to embrace it and everything. I'm all for globalization in terms of the unity of America, Canada, Australia, European Union, and developed democracies, and having them influence less developed countries into being now democracies with little corruption. Then they can get some goodies, but these countries were given the goodies first, and now it's backfiring on us. We can't produce semiconductors at the rate we need to build javelins and all these great weapons we have fast enough. And now there's finally this drive to rebuild our semiconductor industry. But 20 years ago, it was like this had to happen. We had to listen to, I think, Paul Krugman, that all this stuff has to go offshore, and that America would just be a country of offices, and Europe would just be a country of offices, and all the manufacturing and all the fabrication would happen offshore. And we kind of gave it away. And now we've created this new pole in the world. This is our own doing. So, yeah. I mean, I remember, working in an investment bank long back, and telling everyone that actually I did some statistics that the greatest emerging market stories were actually in America. States like Utah, Delaware, Georgia, and the economy's actually boomed. I was actually right, so I was actually right about that one, that those states actually did, Tennessee, and that's where people should be investing their money, into some of the provinces in Canada, Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, and investing in Western markets in the less developed areas, because they already have the government in place, they have the infrastructure, they have institutions in place, so that when they get this money, they're going to handle it responsibly. Because what you've seen in all these BRIC countries is they've totally misused the money. They become more oppressive, or they pollute more, they become more corrupt, and they're not any closer to being like England or America or Europe. If anything, we've really made them worse. I mean, India's population has surpassed China, so literacy and everything hasn't really spread as much as they say it has. China is obviously still a authoritarian country, and they got people in concentration camps. We see what Russia is, and we gave them all this power by buying the energy and investing into them. There are all these funds, Russia funds and everything, pouring money in there. McDonald's was there. All these companies just had to be there, for the almighty profit margins. And Brazil is still chopping down rainforest at a furious rate. I really believe industrialization and technology belong in the West, where it can be controlled and scrutinized by an open media, where people can give criticism. I really hope that whoever gets elected next in these Western countries really looks inward. That the West needs to be united. I don't believe in this nationalism thing where every country is its own. I do believe America, Canada, and Europe kind of have to come together and be stronger and be this leader for Western democracy. And it needs to be united. When you have Iran and China and Russia and India, all helping each other, this can't lead to anything good. This is not the world I want to live in. Where there's a few deciding for the many. You still have in Western countries this ability to determine your own future. I saw on Reddit the other day asking why people hate America and stuff, and why are people still going there if they hate it? Because in America, if you come there with a skill like nursing or medicine or engineering or IT, and you get your first job and it sucks, it's hard, you work like 90 hours a week and you get some $70,000-$80,000, but if you take that job in like Iowa or Delaware or some place outside a big city, or you can actually save some money, and then after 2 years you can actually get a zero down loan, FHA loan. You don't have to be in the military to get these no down payment loans. So if you build up your credit and you save for 2 years on an engineer's salary, you can get your first house like $200,000-$300,000, save 30 grand. It's gonna suck. You probably have to live with roommates and really grind and eat some simple food and really have a frugal lifestyle. But if you suck it up and do it, and you get that first house or first condo, and then rent out the extra bedroom, then you start getting a tax break and a little bit of money, and everything turns around. And if you can keep that going and keep getting promoted in your job, so you come there at like 22, 24, by the time you're 30, you could have a second house, like one you live in, one that's an investment, pretty good job, you drive some used Toyota or something. And by the time you're 35, you could probably have a nice car, and then you get married along the way to someone else who's a working professional, and you can have people are doing this every day, but it's never talked about. They always focus on the bottom 20%. But if you come to America with like a profession, especially in IT, and you can work from home and really get your expenses down with transportation, you can really get ahead. I didn't like the long working hours and everything. That's why I came to Ukraine, and I got a job locally here. And I didn't like having a mortgage either, because you can really get in over your head in America. There's so much to buy and so much to do, and so much easy credit and so much competition with the neighbors. Here, I don't speak Ukrainian. Most of my neighbors don't speak English, so I don't feel like I need to get in any competition with people about, who has a bigger car or nicer apartment or anything like that. It's just a little bit easier from my perspective. But if I were 20s again, I would never have wished to be anywhere else other than America. It's really the place to get ahead. And if you do choose a military career, you start out after high school there or after college in the military, you really can get ahead. You get so many benefits afterwards, loans, free education, all this kind of stuff that you could really leverage into business. But you'll never get that track in Brazil, Russia, India, China. There's a few people who get it, but the overwhelming majority, their lives are not good, and people are wishing to come to Western countries. So, I really, I don't understand why Wall Street sold us out, why Wall Street didn't drive investment into the, small towns in Sweden and small towns in Norway, or medium cities in America, because that's where the potential is. That's where things could grow. You could put a factory there and create jobs and people get paid properly. And then you can immigrate people in from Brazil, Russia, India, China, and you immigrate them in and send them to courses and teach them the language. And then they build the Western democracy. But instead we just threw gasoline on a bad fire, and we just enabled this polar shift that we're seeing. Where now Russia and China are emerging. They have control over resources, they have control over production, they have control over waterways. And as I always say, America has to be first or the whole Western world will end up last. So the world has to get behind America and rebuild its economy and production. It's probably going good now, but it's like a lot of it is inflationary, versus organic. America needs more factories and more production has to be brought back. T-shirts need to be made in North Carolina again, and people have to hang on to them for a year instead of having this fast fashion where everything winds up. And that's another point. All this BRIC country development has created a lot of excess pollution. When things were produced in the West, they were more expensive and people had to hang on and repair them, and you weren't filling up the ocean with garbage as quick. So it's a lot to think about. I don't know what we can do about it other than vote for some politicians who understand the importance of Western leadership in the world. But you got to avoid these nationalists, because they go the other way. They just don't want to work with the other allies, and then we can get divided and conquered. So we need some sort of Western globalism that's also like very anti-giving money to oppressive regimes or countries that pollute like crazy, or countries that don't have any regard for human rights, or that are massively corrupt, and have a strategy or a policy to rebuild everything in the West and then just immigrate people in and ensure that they'll embrace the values, digest them slowly, make the citizenship track hard, so that when they do become voters, they actually are making a educated choice, and they understand everything they live in, and the society has given them something, like a job and a way of life, and that they would vote for parties who want to protect that instead of voting for like libertarians who want to crap on everything, and help our enemies. So yeah, a little deep today. A lot on my mind. I haven't been making videos in a while. It's been really busy. So I, like I said, between jobs. So it was pretty fast from when I left to Cognizant to getting this new job. I'll be at EPAM. So it was pretty fast. I think the fastest turnaround ever in my job hunting days. So it's a good market out there, and people should come to Ukraine. And if you want to support Ukraine, come here and live here. Just by being here, it does a lot. It just does a lot. Just having a presence here. And it's interesting. No 2 days are alike here. Unlike, I was living in Norway. Norway is a fantastic place, but it's like a hospital. Everything works so great. It's so safe and secure, but everything is so routine. You get bored. There's no routines here. Every day it's like there's some change or something is happening. So it keeps you on your toes. Anyway, take care. See you. Bye.